Hello, and welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Last time we were out and about, or oot in a boot, as you might say, but now we land that boat on a beach, enjoy the scenery of some far off Greenland, illuminated by the light of a towering inferno. So come waltzing Matilda with us. We'll see you at the end. Tonight's theme is disaster. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me as always, your other host, Chris Worldmind Murphy. How you doing, Murphy?
The world's on fire, and so am I.
We
It's
survived. We're
I
here.
tell you, it was a long, dry stretch to get onto the beach. It was
My,
fiery excitement to climb the tower, and then just watch it all go to hell in Greenland. I tell you, it was good times.
it was a ride. It was definitely a ride. We were supposed to have Adam Woodward with us here tonight, but that didn't end up happening. So it'll be just Murphy and I, and Adam will join us some other time. And we'll probably get his thoughts on these films if he indeed watched them.
I suspect he
To,
didn't. I suspect he didn't, and he
Not
just
yet. Not yet. Yeah, he's seen them all before, except Greenland, though. Uh,
yeah.
it's season 1, episode 17 of our show. We're getting there. We're gonna have a 20-episode season, and then we'll, I don't know, shuffle the deck a little bit, and then come back for season 2.
Yep.
All kinds of fun things in store. And like I said, we're talking about disasters. And over in Theater 1, we have On the Beach from 1959, starring Gregory Peck, AvaGardner, Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates himself, and Fred Astaire, yet not a single dance number. Actually, that's not true. There was a dance number. I take that back.
Was
Directed
there a
by
dance?
Stanley Kramer. Well, not a dance number, but they were dancing in that like ballroom.
Yeah, okay.
A couple
That's
of people.
you get a pass.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Fred Astaire though.
No. Uh,
Okay.
I feel like he was
Any
just
opening thoughts
drinking
on
and smoking.
the beach
Um,
there, Murphy?
well, my opening thoughts, or things I've learned from watching on the beach is you can duck radioactive dust. You can smoke on a submarine. American submarines have a lot of space.
I noticed
Uh,
that as well. Way more than those German submarines.
the movie begins in Das Boot, and then it ends with Speed Racer, and Fred Astaire even
It
drives a
does.
number 5 Mach. What's it? What was it called? Mach 5, I think it was. Uh, I wrote it down, but either way, and I found really, honestly, the most intriguing part of the film was like the last 30 minutes, give or take, and that's pretty much
Yeah,
when everyone starts dying.
pretty
So
much.
yeah, somehow this movie that was like about an hour and a half shorter than the director's cut of Das Boot felt longer.
It did feel longer than Das Boot. I agree. That first hour felt very long. About as long
So
as Das Boot. But
yeah,
then you get to the second hour of On the Beach, and it's, I don't know, I just would have rather have watched that. I really didn't need the first hour at all. I don't think it added much at all to the, it didn't make me like the characters more. It, I didn't care about the little things they were doing to enjoy their final days at that point because I didn't care about the characters. And I never really did for most of them.
yeah.
Um, there
I
were a
don't know if it
couple of
was.
strong performances, a couple of not so great performances, I felt. It's a mixed bag. This movie's a mixed bag. I'm sure not, still not 100% sure how I feel about it. So maybe we got to talk about it some more and I'll figure it out. But
Yeah, yeah. I would say upon initial reactions, it's just like I think it's mostly Gregory Peck. He doesn't seemingly
he's flat.
he's so flat and it's hard to follow him, and he's the main
The whole,
character of the whole film, and
the
it's
whole
just like
time I'm wondering why that woman is so like in love with him and infatuated with him because he just seems like even when they're together, it's just like the most boring guy to be with. He almost
yeah,
never said, I mean, he's handsome, but
yeah.
Grandfather
He's
of
handsome.
Spock. You know.
But you see where the Vulcan comes from.
Yeah, exactly. That's where
Like,
Ethan inherited his Vulcan.
you know what?
From the
Actually,
beach.
now with that frame of mind, this actually paints the whole film as a different picture. What if he's just a Vulcan this whole time?
Yeah, really though. Well, why don't we hit the
Uh,
trailer and then get into it?
yeah, let's relive that.
Oh no, I forgot. Okay.
Flash! Motion picture history is made as Stanley Kramer's production of On the Beach opens all over the world in unprecedented 6-continent premieres and meets with
6
unprecedented
continents.
success as critics everywhere hail it as a motion picture milestone. New York, Mayor Robert Wagner heads
yes.
the glittering array of celebrities
It
on
is
hand to see the picture
it
the New
is
York Times
technically.
calls the best
Really?
picture
We've
of
seen
the
better
year.
movies
Herald
from
Tribune
earlier than
also
this
calls
on this
it
show.
Best
But the
picture of
term
the year.
milestone-
Tingler
In
comes
London,
to mind.
Soviet Ambassador
The
Malik
term
arrives for
milestone
On the
fits.
Beach premiere, and the London Standard proclaims,
Magnificent, a film that must not be missed.
Rome, enthusiastic crowds hail Ava Gardner, and critics hail On
Oh, is
the
this a
Beach
trailer? Are
as
you
one of the
sure
most
this is a
moving
trailer?
This is the
150
original
pictures a year.
trailer. I shit you not. When I look up the trailer for
applause
this film,
GregoryPeck,
this is
who
what
flies
comes
to
up.
Moscow for
Any
the
other
premiere,
trailer
and
is
TASS
like
News Agency calls the picture
DVD
Well, this is the
release
trailer
fan
after
made.
the premiere.
Tokyo, Japan's royal family sees the film
it's
which
like all the
Tokyo
reactions
critics
of the
call
premiere.
An unprecedented
Yeah, they had the
event in
premiere.
motion
This is the
picture
trailer
history.
for general release. That
Stockholm,
just what
a
people would
brilliant
see.
movie.
says the Stockholm press, as huge crowds led by Sweden's King Gustav VI acclaim On the Beach.
Gustav.
Gustav
Melbourne,
even loves.
Australia's highest dignitaries, led by Premier Bolte, attend the premiere, and the Melbourne Age proclaims,
On the Beach leaves you breathless.
It's a
Tremendous
huge
power
movie
and
for
impact.
Australia.
Hollywood, biggest star turnout in years, Cary Grant, Fred Astaire,
Oh, Cary
Dinah
Grant was
Shore,
there. Man,
George
this
Montgomery,
movie
Tony
would have been a lot
Perkins,
better with Cary
Shirley
Grant in it.
MacLaine,
One of the most important pictures
Yes.
ever made.
Yeah.
shouts
any
the Los
role.
Angeles Herald Express.
High Noon Champion, home of the brave, the men, the keen mutiny, the defiant ones. Stanley Kramer, who made these outstanding screen achievements. Climaxes his brilliant career with a
So many
motion picture
climax.
that has started the film goes all over the world. On the beach. As a book, On the
Based
Beach.
on the book by
National
Neville.
sensation. Now the motion picture becomes an international triumph, the first worldwide premiere in history.
Is it really the first worldwide premiere in history?
It seems that way. My car
I guess it's
racing.
milestone in that way.
God damn, that song was stuck in my head so hard after this film.
I know, I've been singing it. Yeah.
It's
It's a good song.
Look, they pushed us too far. They didn't think
pushed
we'd
us
fight no
too
matter
far.
what they did. And they were
What is the
wrong.
movie
We
starting?
fought, we expunged them. We didn't do such a bad job on ourselves. We were all doomed, you know. The whole
you know what? I
silly,
probably should have
drunken,
picked this
pathetic
scene.
lot of us.
That was my
We
favorite
haven't
scene.
got a chance.
Oh, really? Well, we're
But
watching
it was
it
in
now.
the trailer, so it's like we're watching it now.
There is hope. There has to be hope.
Here's hope.
There's always hope.
There's always
Take
hope.
it you put me to bed.
My God, this is like
I
a
arrived
10-minute
at that
trailer.
introduction. I asked Pete
It's
and
literally
Mary,
just
and,
these two scenes, and then it's over.
Oh.
I'm afraid I was a bit of a mess.
Drank too much brandy. Passed out.
So they bragged about the movie and then showed you nothing about the movie, and it's like, come see the movie.
It's the greatest film on earth.
You know,
Justice.
I've never had it happen quite like that before. My
I will say though, this trailer made me expect more from this movie actually, because it was like bragging it up so much. I was like, oh, this is gonna be
I also
great.
feel ashamed.
Yeah, this is gonna be something. I didn't know what to expect, but I was expecting a little more than what I got. The biggest story of our time. Well, best picture of the year, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it
Beautifully
was.
made, remarkably absorbing, visually important. It's too short.
Most important predictor ever produced. I don't know about that.
One of the most important contributions to motion pictures in 40 years. At the time, yes. On the Beach, produced and directed by Stanley. If you've never seen another motion picture in your life, you must
You must see this. Well,
On
should
the
we end the show?
Beach. Yeah,
Should we just like review this and then end it?
and be done with it.
Call her a podcast. Yeah. Yeah. Later.
Yeah. So that's it. We're done. Great. Have a good night.
I'm depressed that Cary Grant wasn't in this movie. He could have played Anthony Perkins or Gregory Peck's role better, I think. I did not like
Anthony Perkins' character was
he
supposed
was
to be
awful.
Australian.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish they would have hired some rando Australian to play his, because I did not enjoy his character or his performance. It felt very forced and
he was the second lead of the
amateurish,
film.
quite frankly. And I know he's a good actor
story.
and everything, but yeah, the two male leads were just dull. And Fred Astaire was good, but
he was good for the like few parts, and then around the end he was just like stone faced because he knew he was gonna die.
Get a car driver.
Yeah, I don't even when that car driving the Australian Grand Prix scene happened, I was like, wait.
Cars exploding everywhere.
What is happening? When point was a race talked about in this film? Like
People are dying left and right.
Well, they had nothing to lose at that point.
They don't
so
care.
They just gave it their all, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
why don't you take us through the old plot? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that, shall we? So On the Beach, it's the year 1964, after a devastating nuclear war. In the northern hemisphere, the USS Sawfish, an American nuclear submarine, navigates the coast of Australia, where survivors are believed to be docking at the port of Melbourne. Lieutenant McCander.
The actual sawfish is a native creature.
Oh, in Australia. Interesting. Apparently, the number 623 on the sub is like the designation for the only nuclear or one of few nuclear submarines that the U.S. has. But yeah, they mainly made this movie because of the Royal Navy of Australia that helped them out with their submarines as props because the U.S. Navy was not willing to. But yeah, so they're docking to the port of Melbourne. Lieutenant Commander Dwight Towers, played by GregoryPeck, and his crew await the arrival of the radioactive winds that they docked from the north that will eventually end all of life. The Australian government and scientific community requests Towers and his crew to embark on another mission, and they're tasked with checking radiation levels and investigating a mysterious Morse code signal near San Diego, California.
So they're basically just waiting for the poison to reach them, essentially. It's going to be everywhere. The winds are going to take
they got like
the
6
nuclear
months
fallout.
or something like that. They got 6 months and they're sent on like a 4-month course to go to California to be like, listen, there's beeping. Somebody might be there.
6 months seems like a long time if it's as bad as it seems like it was.
Yeah.
It's some time. It's more time than you'd expect. I mean, it's an interesting... I feel like the execution wasn't as good as the idea for this particular movie.
Yes, like it's the concept is solid. The execution was lacking. And
like the whole movie takes place after the movie. Like, the movie's the big nuclear war, but we don't see any of that.
No, generally,
we
yes,
just get the...
generally. The movie's the big nuclear war, but this movie's about the fallout after the nuclear war, specifically what'll happen to humanity in a fallout. Like this is the reality, the dark reality of it all.
I just wanted more from that idea than this movie gave us. Of its time, perhaps.
Yeah. So yeah, the Australian government and the scientific community request Towers and his crew to embark on another mission. They are tasked with checking radiation levels and the mysterious Morse code signal that's near San Diego, California. Australian Ensign Peter Holmes, Anthony Perkins, is assigned as the liaison officer for the mission. As Tower copes with his personal losses and impending doom, Peter and his wife, Mary, played by Donna Anderson, throw a party to lift his spirits. Moira Davison, played by AvaGardner, is brought in to distract Towers, and an unexpected bond begins to form between them. However, Towers remains devoted to his late wife and children back in Connecticut, who are whom are surely dead.
Surely,
Towers finds
fine.
himself,
Yeah.
surely,
Yeah.
Towers finds himself struggling to reconcile with their loss and the growing feelings he has for Moira. I kind of feel like those, those feelings and stuff were kind of like that's great screenshot of Fred Astaire though. I love this one.
It is.
So yeah, they all
cool,
have their
man.
party.
That's 50s cool right there.
Yeah, that's 50s cool. Getting drunk, cigarette in hand, fucking
Yeah.
sweet noir lighting.
Not giving a shit. Get your suit on. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a scene from the trailer where, there's still hope. We gotta have hope. It's like, hope for what?
He's like, nah, because he's the smart one. He's like the scientist in the bunch, and he's like,
yeah,
nah.
he's like, listen, death's coming, so we're on a clock.
Yeah.
So yeah,
get your affairs in
these
order.
Guys, yeah, get your affairs in order. Exactly. Like, what else you got to do? So yeah, Lieutenant Towers sets out on the mission north without informing Moira, who later discovers Towers where Julian Osborne, played by Fred Astaire, the scientist accompanying the crew. The USS Sawfish arrives at Point Barrow, Alaska. Oh yeah, this is where I realized, are they smoking on a submarine? They are.
Yeah, they sure were.
They should not be.
Doesn't seem like a good use of oxygen. But they don't plan on staying down long either. They're not evading anybody or anything. I don't even know why they keep going under the water.
Like, to avoid the radiation dust, apparently.
Okay.
There's radiation clouds above the water, so they go under it to avoid it, I guess, to avoid the exposure.
True, but they're still in a submarine, whether they're above the air or not, or water or not, but whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, the USS Sawfish eventually heads out and arrives at the Point Barrow, Alaska, where they find radiation levels are intensifying. They then explore the Erie Desert. I'm a little behind on my screenshots here, but let's see. Yeah. Oh, wait, yeah.
There.
I think... No, that's right. This is the point. Okay, yeah. So they find that radiation. They explore the eerie, deserted city of San Francisco. This is the point where Ralph Swain's character, played by John Malone, a crew member with the family in San Francisco, he deserts the sub and remains in his hometown.
This is where this scene is where the movie starts to get good.
Yes, this is the moment I got into the film, is when this guy Ralph Swain is like, I'm out of here, and they're like, whoa, what's he doing? How did he get out? He's like, he jumped in the torpedo tube basically and swam out. It's like, how did he do this? But this is where we actually get my favorite scene of the film, one of my favorites at least.
Captain, I didn't mean any disrespect or anything yesterday. I want you to understand that, but
it was a good one.
This was my second favorite. To have it than in Australia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mine too. Because we both had the same favorite scene, so
it's just the very next scene after this one. The two best scenes are back to back.
Yeah.
We won't be coming back.
I know.
You'll get pretty sick. Have you got anything?
You'll get pretty sick.
I got 200 drugstores to choose from.
200 drugstores. That's gonna keep me going.
Good luck.
For what? That's what I'm saying. You're fishing for what, sir? There's no fish. Or at least there shouldn't be.
There could be fish.
You think?
Why not? Yeah.
I feel like a lot of fish would die due to the, absolute waste of water. So yeah, that was basically my favorite scene.
Yeah, that's a good scene. It's just funny because he's just sitting there on a boat fishing and the sub pops up.
Yeah. He's like, and they just speak to them through the speaker. How you doing?
How you feeling?
Just doing fine,
Yeah, his stomach was upset last night.
Yeah, his stomach was upset. That could have been something I ate. Could have been the seawater I drank swimming over. Yeah. They're like, how's it look over there? He's like, it's a lot of dead people. I went to go see my folks.
Everyone. As far as I know, I stopped looking. He's like, I saw a few, stopped looking.
Yeah, once you see one, you just kind of you don't want to look anymore. But like
Yeah.
you're walking in San Francisco, California, I feel like you can't go.
There's
It's like no
nowhere.
wonder he's fishing on the boat. Like anywhere else on land's probably smell like ass.
Yeah, just dead corpses everywhere.
Right. So yeah, Tower bids him farewell, and he understands Swain's desire to die in familiar surroundings. Like I totally got that scene. I was like, yeah, if I'd
Like, we're
just
not
gotten
coming
from
back.
Australia, it's like I don't really want to be on a sub for like an extended like month or two when I have
Nah.
3 full months left. Like I'm just gonna say fuck it and walk around. Like this movie made me really think about this type of stuff, and I was like not prepared, but at the same time it's like it's important to think about this in a sense, but it's like it's like what would you
Oh
do
yeah,
in that
there's
scenario?
it's effective in making you think about certain things. So it is an effective movie in some
Yeah.
ways. I have mixed feelings. Anyway,
Yeah, I know.
continue.
It's like it's a movie with a very very important message. It is just delivered in the
Mhm.
driest, flattest tone possible. Um, and
Maybe
yeah,
that's
since
the
we go
point, because it's just like everyone's just feeling this dread.
Yes, I also feel like
Yeah,
that's a bit of the point too. Like the more I thought about, like in my initial interactions with this film, I was like, "eh," but the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
so bored. Yeah,
there's
yeah,
something more
exactly,
to
right.
this, you know."
Yeah,
But yeah, we go from the submarine scene to them kind of just like radio still being gibberish, and then we get to this great
my
scene,
favorite
which
scene.
is yeah, both of our favorite scenes, hands down. We agreed here.
Somebody ought to write a history of the war.
What are you bucking for? A whole chapter to yourself?
Whole chapter to
I
yourself.
doubt anyone could put it all together.
Well, if they do, I'd like to read it. I was in it for a while. I don't know anything about it.
I don't even know who started it.
I wish somebody had stopped it. Well, the people on Mars probably saw what happened. When things cool off, they'll probably come down and take over.
Things cool up.
Any chance?
Well, it takes over.
We
Yeah.
might have the means of paying our corpse a
Tony
visit.
Vulcans.
I shouldn't advise it for a long time.
Who do you think started it? The war.
Albert Einstein.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Do you really want to know who I think started the war?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you're an egghead, aren't you?
You're pretty smart, aren't you?
Who would ever have believed that human beings would be stupid enough to blow themselves off the face of the earth?
Who would think?
I don't believe it even now.
Well, we didn't want a
Same.
war. We didn't start it. Come on now, how did it start?
The trouble with you is you want a simple answer. And there isn't any. The war started when people accepted the idiotic principle that peace could be maintained by arranging to defend themselves with weapons they couldn't possibly use.
That's the best
Not
line in the film
committing
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best line. in
The
film.
irony here, and
Wrap yourself in a blanket of insanity. That's like there you go.
so do we like put paper bags over our heads? No, the irony here is out of the two movies we watched with Fred Astaire in it, I liked him more in this film. But he won an award for being in the other film.
The other film.
Yeah. The other film was
What other
Towering
film?
Inferno.
Fred Astaire wasn't in that.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Who did he play?
He was the con man.
It's a con man in the Towering Inferno.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
So yes, yeah, that was basically the scene there. We'll get back to this real quick. So yeah, heading to the San Diego area, Lieutenant Thunderstorm Hart McGuire, the radio officer, ventures ashore in a radiological suit to investigate the Morse code signal. He discovers that the signal originates from a silent radio room in a power station, which, you know, who's turned on the power is the one question I had going through my mind throughout this whole scene. But ultimately, he finds that the radio signal is a broken window shade cord that is wrapped around a partially empty Coca-Cola bottle, creating the gibberish Morse code signals that brought them all there. When the breeze blows through the window, that's basically it tapping away. Thunderstorm rectifies the situation, and sends a message to the sub letting them know, what happened before turning off the lights and returning back to the submarine. With their fate seemingly sealed, the Sawfish crew returns to Melbourne. Towers reunites with Mora at her father's farm, cherishing.
It's definitely not Cary Grant.
It's definitely no Cary Grant. Towers receives a phone call informing him that the radiation has reached Brisbane, resulting in the death of all the U.S. Navy personnel there, and he's promoted to Admiral of the remaining U.S. Navy personnel in Australia. Heck of a way to get a promotion. We then get Lieutenant Towers.
What a time. You're promoted, now die.
Now die. Good luck. You're the king of the world. Lieutenant Towers and Moira attend the Australian Grand Prix.
It's just so out of place.
It's so out of place.
Kinda,
it was just
took me out of the movie, actually.
It was just like, whoa, we're in a race all of a sudden, and I'm watching it. Admittedly, this was the movie that got me going, like, whoa, holy shit. So yeah, it's where Osborne participates as basically speed racer. He's like, I'm not kidding. Many racers with nothing left to lose meet insane fatal accidents. And basically, like, seriously, he's driving a Mach 5 right there, a white car with number 5 on it. He's driving Mach 5. After he's murdered the entire competition, Fred Astaire's Osborne has won as speed racer. Literally
speed
murdering
wins.
the entire
Yay,
competition.
Speed!
Yeah, Anthony Perkins with his psycho smile.
And then he drives by after he's won, and he just sees the wreckage of the people who died during the race. And he just kind of
explosions.
Takes his helmet off, looks sad for a second, and then smiles and drives on.
This explosion is
so
huge,
weird.
Dude. I was shocked with it. And Fred Astaire's just like, yep, I'm just go speed racers grow. Anyway, Towers
this fishing scene I have a problem with.
Yes,
I love the waltzing Matilda song, the singing. The singing's beautiful.
It's the scene starts. They embark on a fishing trip to Norbthong, where the fishing grounds are crowded with people seeking solace.
Where no one apparently they opened the fishing season for trout early, so they're all fishing for trout. So
is that why they're there?
This is not a scene where anyone is seriously fishing for trout. This isn't like salmon or shad or Gaspereau or a fish that's swimming upriver, not even worrying about feeding, not worrying about sounds, not worrying about predators, just trying to get to the spawning destination. That's the only time when you could have 1 million people singing and being loud, kids jumping in the water, and actually be fishing. You cannot fish trout with all of this noise.
Mm-hmm.
There's no trout. There is no trout in any of this stretch of river right now because it's really freaking noisy. And if there is, they're hiding. They're not feeding. So the ridiculousness of the non-fishing took me out of it a bit too. I'm like, they could have just made everyone playing and having a good, and maybe they don't care. They don't care about catching fish. But all they had to do was not say it was trout, and I wouldn't have been bothered. But I'm like, that is not trout fishing of any sort. So, just a nitpick.
Okay, so I kind of agree because I was watching this scene and I'm like, there's no way in hell there are any fish in this river. They would have all, if there was any fish, they would have been scared by the chaos that is happening around it right now, and they would avoid it.
It's pure chaos and noise. Yeah.
So ultimately this scene transitions to a stormy weather where Towers and Moira end up heading back to their place, and the drunken guys are still singing Waltzing Matilda. That also took me out of the scene in the movie. I'm like, where are these guys singing Waltzing Matilda? I get that they've played this song about 7,500 times.
They just went inside.
In different variations. They play the song in different variations at every point. It drives home the dread, It does, yeah. But yeah, basically Lieutenant Towers and Moira share a romantic evening in their room, seeking comfort in each other's arms. While in the building, the same drunken river revelers sing Waltzing Matilda, a theme played throughout the film, gradually succumbing to unconsciousness. much like my brain wanted to at this point in the film. Returning from their fishing trip, Towers learns that
the best is over.
Yeah, basically.
It just putters out. It starts really slow and boring and just putters out at the end.
It starts doing the Lord of the Rings ending. I thought this movie ended 3 times before it actually ended.
There were better spots where it could have ended, really, than where it did.
There's a good hour of this film that probably could have been trimmed out. But Seaman Ackerman, played by Joe McCormick, has developed radiation poisoning. As the radioactive winds have finally reached Melbourne, the symptoms will soon spread, and that's basically like the onset of haunting scene after haunting scene. We then get this haunting scene again of people gathering around with a Salvation Army, having prayers. There's still time, brother, still time to save your humanity. And then it cuts to the Queen Victoria Memorial Hospital, where we see Towers in the back of a Rolls Royce, and he's driving past the citizens of Melbourne as they line up for their government-issued suicide pills, which is just like, wow, Like this was probably the one scene in the film that like stuck with me the most. I was like, what are all these people lined up for? And then I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like,
there's a lot of good stuff, and they don't hit you over the head with it for sure. It's a pretty subtle movie, which I do kind of appreciate that.
So Towers must ultimately make a difficult decision regarding his crew and Moira. Saying his goodbyes to Osborne, who eventually chooses to die in his Mach 5 by carbonite poisoning. Also, side note, these two, the like Australian general that wanted to like give his slip his secretary the D, and she wasn't having it, and then by the end of it she's like, why not, let's just have a good time, it was like could have been without that.
Me too. I would have rather it have been like some old woman and some young guy, and they're just like, hey, what do you think? I think that would have been funny. Like, they're a little more uncommon of the time. No, I shouldn't say.
They cut back to the town square. You see noticeably less people, and then we jump back to Julian Osborne, where he's putting on the final decal of his car, and he's going out the old carbon monoxide way, locking the garage, turning on the key, revving the engine, and saying goodbye to the ghost, or saying hello to the ghost, I guess you could say. Towers addresses his crew who voted to head for home. He realizes responsibility lies with his crew and contacts Moira, who's been assisting Peter in caring for Mary.
Screw that. What a shitty ending. I was like, ooh, Cary Grant wouldn't have done that. Cary Grant would have stayed with his woman.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, boys, you take the ship, you go ahead. You don't need me to operate the ship. You know where home is. Like, you don't need me to give you orders. I'm just the order guy. I'll stay on the beach and watch the sunset with this woman that I've been getting some from, Or B, she hops in and goes
seem to have a connection.
Because, like, what, right? Like, it didn't make sense. But yeah, Moira's helping, has basically been assisting Peter in caring for Mary, who struggles, as she has been throughout the entire movie, which is the consistent theme with her character, to accept the fact that they're going to die. Eventually, Mary regains clarity and prepares for the end by sharing a cup of tea laced with coma-inducing sedative. And that's the end of them, basically. Moira finds Towers at the dock. They embrace one last time as he explains that he loves her, but he must go with his crew. And they both understand that the relationship is now over, but are grateful for the time they had together, which is just garbage. Moira speeds along the coast to catch a final glimpse of Towers as the sawfish submerges for the last time, standing on a cliff. She gazes into the distance as the submarine disappears. Why she didn't just go with him, I'll never know. And then the final scenes take place.
Too, but I mean, who wants to be in a submarine for your last friggin' days?
That's what I'm saying. Who wants to be in a fucking submarine for your last days?
I know. He was the worst lead character. I didn't like his decisions. I didn't really care for him as a character. Yeah, man. I don't know what I'm gonna say about this movie here when we.
And the final scenes take place days later, after the last remaining pockets of humanity have perished. The movie depicts an empty and desolate Melbourne, swept by the wind. The powerful image of a close-up banner seen previously at the Salvation Army appears,
time.
bearing the prophetic words, "There's still time, brother." The movie ends with the rise of more waltzing Matilda, leaving a lasting impact of haunting reality that humanity has
faced. It's a good final shot.
End. Yeah, good final shots. There was like really nice shots. There was some good compositions.
It's good stuff. I don't know what we're gonna say. All right. So, which performance would you hold up?
Oh, Fred Astaire.
Me too.
Yeah, Fred Astaire, big time. That's an award-winning performance from Fred Astaire, which is like.
I still can't believe he's in the Towering Inferno.
Yeah, he's in the Towering Inferno.
All right. Well. Oh wait. Oh, I think I do know who he was in the Towering Inferno. All right. We'll come back to that. Setting aesthetic. Was fine. The car chase looked pretty good at times, not so good at times.
It's just like the setting and aesthetic. It was like the set. I mean, I don't know if we're talking like time period setting wise, like it's an interesting concept because not a lot of movies are done after a Fallout. You know, you know, you don't get to experience this, so it's a dreadful film that makes you almost, in a way, feel like the drawing dread of radiation poisoning.
And they must have emptied those streets to get those shots, like that shot from the submarine of San Francisco. You see like a whole block, and it's empty.
I got some movie morsels that I'll touch on.
Oh, I bet there's some morsels
like
about that. So why don't we just hit those then?
So for movie morsels for On the Beach, 1959. I didn't write that down, but either way, it's a late 50s film. This was Hollywood's first large-scale film to address the possibility of nuclear Armageddon. So
that's pretty big.
That's why it's a milestone film. This is a note I found interesting because as you've heard, you know, we've got the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA on strike, and I feel like this is an important bit of information in sort of a theme with the strike that's going on and why strikes are necessary. This was AvaGardner's first film as a freelance actress after completing her 20-year studio contract at MGM, where she had worked for a weekly salary and did not benefit financially from being loaned to other studios. As a freelance actress, she was free to choose her roles and negotiate her salary. So basically 20 years under MGM and she was getting paid pennies. So
she's better than a hero. She's a union man.
She's a union man, exactly. It is rumored that the guards at each end of the Golden Gate Bridge were paid $500 each to stop cars for a minute to get footage of an empty bridge.
Wow.
Special garments are designed to protect personnel.
I don't even get permission though. Just pay the guys at the ends of the.
Just slip them a couple of fives. I mean, if you get $500 to stop a car for 1 minute, would you do it? I would. Be like, I'll just stand here.
Sure.
Just one minute. Hang on.
1 sec, bud.
So yeah, special garments are designed to protect personnel from radioactive contamination hazards. However, no suit will protect you against certain ionizing radiation hazards, example gamma rays and X-rays. In reality, no radiation suit existed then, nor even now, that would have protected the crew member that went ashore in highly radioactive San Diego. And if you notice during that scene, his ankles were not like tucked in to his boots or anything like that. They were just like open, loosey-goosey. It was just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, you see, even when they go to Chernobyl now, like with modern day technology in their suits, they're still like, we got like an hour, even in this big crazy suit, and then we have to get out of here.
In and out, right? For the final scene, director Stanley Kramer asked the population of the city of Melbourne to stay at home so that the streets remained deserted. Kramer used radio and newspaper nets to get this request out. The tune played repeatedly throughout the film is the iconic Australian folk song Waltzing Matilda. It tells the story of a swag man, Australian for hobo, who steals a sheep and commits suicide rather than accept capture and imprisonment. Spooky. On the Beach. On the Beach is a book by Australian-British author Neville Shute, and he sold 100,000 copies in its first 6 weeks. It's considered a high bookseller of the year at the time.
I have a feel this one was better in book form. I might have to read that book.
That's okay. Now we're getting into the meat. We're getting to the meaty gritty of this film right now. Neville Shute originally collaborated with Stanley Kramer on the film, but soon realized that many of his ideas were not being incorporated, so he distanced himself from the project. He was absolutely enraged by the final film. Some say that his hatred of the movie contributed to a fatal stroke a month after the film's premiere. Shute was only 60 when he died. So it's like, oh, now I want to read this book. Gregory Peck privately agreed with Neville Shute that the film was a watered-down version of the novel, but had to show solidarity with his director, Stanley Kramer. This is interesting. The film had its world premiere on December 17th, 1959, in more than 20 cities worldwide, including Moscow. It was the first time an American film had a premiere in the Soviet Union. The special premiere in Moscow was held at a workers' club with the attendance of 1,200 Soviet dignitaries, the Foreign Press Corps, diplomats, U.S. ambassadors, Lewin Thomas and Gregory Peck and his wife traveled to the Soviet Union for the premiere. The Hollywood premiere was attended by many celebrities, including some of the film stars such as Fred Astaire, Anthony Perkins, and director Stanley Kramer. The New York premiere was attended. The New York premiere was attended by Mayor Robert F. Wagner. The London premiere was attended by Yakov Malik, the Soviet ambassador to the UK. AvaGardner.
You know this. This was in the trailer.
Yeah, I know.
There was King such and such too.
The Japanese royal family attended the Tokyo premiere. Swedish King Gustav VI Adolf attended the Stockholm premiere, and the Melbourne premiere was attended by Premier of Victoria Henry Bolt. Basically everything that was said in that trailer. It's just the fact that they had all premiere on the same day around the world. It's just something that doesn't happen at all anymore because it's always separated times and releases. The film still did poorly at the box office, though, resulting in a loss of $700,000, according to the studio records. Wow. And then the final morsel for this one, the made-for-television remake in 2000, originally airing on Showtime, is in many ways more disturbing to view. It is far more graphic in its depiction of death and destruction in San Francisco. Many of its characters are portrayed as grittier, angrier. Also, the terrible effects of radiation sickness is quite realistically depicted with some characters. So there's a made-for-TV 2000 re-adaptation.
This is another movie, the kind of movie that could use a remake as well. Not that I have faith that a TV movie these days is going to do that, but
I would see a feature film reversion of this. Anyway, cinematography by Giuseppe Rotuno, edited by Frederick Knudsen. Yeah, we'll say Knudsen. Music by Ernest Gold. Release date December 17th, 1959. Running time of 134 minutes. Budget of $2.3 million. Box office of $2.2 million. Although over the years, I think it's managed to get a whole global collection of $11 million since the time of its release up till about now. So yeah, that's On the Beach.
Rewatchability. Not for me.
No, I honestly, I was like, should I rewatch this movie before we get into this podcast? Maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. And then when I did my synopsis breakdown of it, all the stuff, I was like, you know what? I don't think I really need to. I think I actually gained more about the movie from reading the synopsis than I did actually watching the film. And I don't think me rewatching it, I'm just going to catch anything new.
Agreed. Does it hold up?
No, it doesn't, which is a shame because it's a film that's really important and has very important themes and should be watched, but like it just doesn't hold up in the sense of being like a movie that's going to capture your attention and make you pay attention to the very important messages and themes that are within this film.
It's a tough one for me because it has some good stuff and some points.
It's got some golden nuggets of information in this film, but it's just like served on a shit platter, and you're just like, okay, you know?
No, it doesn't really. It doesn't. But
presentation
there's
is
a
everything.
few good scenes. Yeah, it doesn't hold up. Actually, but it's like a C plus.
Yeah, like out of all the films that don't hold up, it's definitely kind of the top of the list. You know, maybe we'll discuss that in the final episode, but like,
yeah, we'll have a recap episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll add that to the C pile. Oh my. All right, over to Theater 2.